Now, with this week's episode of My Hero Academia, it's a very interesting episode because typically when you have the episode after an arc ends, it's more or less downtime, it's in some ways kind of boring. That's how it usually goes. With this week's episode, however, coming off such an emotional and amazing arc, it's actually probably also one of the best episodes of the entire series. Like, it's not better than what happened with All Might over the past 2 episodes, but it's definitely one of the strongest episodes of this season and series overall. How the characters reacted to the pillar of society falling is so magnificently well done. The way characters are reacting, understanding that they put all their trust into one hero, the pillar of society, the one that will always be there for them, and the issue that poses, because even though All Might was this amazing fighter, he is only human, and at some point he would have died, or in this case, essentially lose that ember to be able to fight anymore, and what would happen? Who would be his successor? And to see how characters are reacting to this, hell, having the big bad at the end of the episode being wheeled off to prison saying, "You failed, All Might, because for me, I was defeated and I'm being locked away in a prison." For my underling, for someone like Shigaraki, that gives him the fuel and the drive to rise to the occasion and become the big bad himself. Whereas your underling, Deku, he's still just a baby boy. You decided to give up being All Might for him to become a teacher. And him being a teacher isn't going to force him to rise to the occasion, and essentially, there is no pillar of society. There's no one to be the symbol of peace at this moment, and that leaves society at a weak state. And I like the kind of yin and yang of this, such an interesting balance and contrast, and it definitely seems like in order for Deku to get a teacher, All Might actually had to die. Like, All Might was probably one of the worst teachers you can imagine. Like, the way he trained Deku, it wasn't that good. Deku didn't learn that much from him. Sure, he learned some things, but he wasn't a great teacher. But allowing All Might to die, his powerful form, and just have him focus his every single bit of energy into Deku, that will actually allow him to be a good teacher and allow him to teach him the things that will be able to let him master his body and not destroy it when he uses his abilities. And I like that because even though, yes, All Might dying would have set Deku right then and there on a path to be the next All Might and probably would have got him killed, and maybe it would have benefited society and Shigaraki would be defeated quicker, but allowing All Might to essentially die so that the teacher can be born is the better outcome, but it's better for the long term, not the short term, where someone like Shigaraki is going for the short term. And I love that contrast, and I love that All Might sucker punches Deku. It's so good. I love how that's the first moment after everything that's happened, but he's proud of Deku, and that's what should happen. This is the first time that Deku's got out of a situation not harming his body. That deserves praise, and I love that moment. It's such a sweet moment because they're both crying, they're both so happy of what's happening, but also scared of what the future could bring. And I like how the teacher and the student relationship finally is starting anew and starting in the right direction. I love how characters like Bakugo are starting to understand that All Might's keeping something and that Deku is more than just a student. And if he's not willing to tell him, he's not going to fight it, but he does recognize that there's something going on. I like how the parents reacted. Naturally, there would be parents still okay with sending their kids to a school, especially now that the school wants to do dormitories, because having all the students in one place, yes, would leave them more vulnerable in one sense because the villains would know where they are at all times, but on the other hand, it lets them always be under constant protection. And some parents naturally would be okay with that because of the amazing emotional and just gut-punching speeches and actions that All Might did on TV. You can absolutely trust All Might, especially if your kid hasn't been harmed throughout all of the attacks. Characters like Bakugo's parents being still okay with it because all Bakugo's life, he's had this amazing quirk and everyone's kind of always handed him things on a silver platter. But for the first time, it seems like people are understanding what Bakugo's drive is and seeing that he isn't someone who's just getting everything handed to him. He's working his ass off to be one of the best heroes. And the fact that someone like Eraserhead recognizes that, they can trust in their kid going to a school and living there if the teachers understand and care for her kid that damn much. I love that. And I love how Deku's mom puts the brake on this. She has to be one of the most understanding parents I've ever seen in anime. After how many times Deku's nearly been killed or shattered, he was still allowed to go to UA. If anything, she should have pulled the brakes far earlier. But the fact that this is enough, she's not going to send him to live there. He's almost died how many times, And I love how it doesn't go cliche where Deku storms off, All Might gives the emotional speech, and that's that. Deku storms off and brings the letter that was given to him saying, if you want to send me to a different school, that's fine. I got this letter. Someone who didn't believe in heroes believed in me. That's enough. I don't care where I go as long as I can still go to a school. And then when All Might gets down, he kind of transforms into his muscular form first, and you know that's wearing on him because he can't keep that form for long. And he bows and just begs and says, you know, I will give my everything. I will teach. I will even give my life to save Deku. That's how much I care for him. And she says, no. He looks up to you. You can't throw away your life. And I love that because how all the characters reacted, how society reacted to All Might falling and essentially leaving everyone kind of in the, like, not knowing what's going to happen. Having Endeavor not be able to accept that he's the #1 hero by default. If All Might would have died in battle, that would be a different story for him being the #1 hero now. But the fact that everything that his image of what All Might was is shattered and now he's just left next in line, it makes sense why he's acting the way he is. And I just love this episode because of how good the character writing actually was, and I didn't think it would be this good. I thought this episode would be something I had fun with, but that's that. Sure, it has the shonen cliche comedy with the more exaggerated faces and over-the-top reactions, but how the characters are actually acting ever since Season 2 onwards, it's been absolutely incredible. The parents are acting logical, some are opposing, some are for it. I love how society is not understanding, like, what happened to All Might? What are we supposed to do? People up top in the police force and other aspects like that, they have to try to rebuild and figure out that they can't put their trust into one person. All Might understanding that really Deku is going to be the next symbol of peace. He's going to rise to the occasion. He can see that in the boy's eyes and what his actions have done already. Like, everything about this was so well done. And once again, in an episode that didn't necessarily need this above and beyond voice acting and animation, they went above and beyond. Seriously, My Hero Academia, it just keeps improving. It really does for me. I know eventually at some point I'm going to be like, okay, it's not improving anymore, but it's still fun. But so far, it's doing everything I want. Past that, not much more to say, but let me know what you're feeling. What did you think of this episode? Were you as surprised as me as with how good it was, or were you expecting it to be this good? Let me know what you're feeling down in that comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like, and if you're new, also be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.